What is the best way to play D&D in a galaxy far, far away? That's what we're going to talk about today here on Templars Tabletop. Welcome back to the channel where we're all about making your role-playing games AAA. Affordable, approachable, and awesome. And when it comes to awesome, there are few franchises that are as beloved and well-received and just epic as the Star Wars franchise. Now, this channel is not probably set up to talk about the differences in quality and fan interest between, for instance, the original trilogy, the prequels, and then the newer movies. So that's probably a different video for another time, or perhaps even a different channel. I digress. If you'd like to play D&D, roll some dice, be nerdy, and have a character in the world of Luke Skywalker and friends, what are some options? Let's talk about that right now. We'll go over to the book cam, and the first one that we've got is the granddaddy of them all by West End Games, the original Star Wars D6 game. And so what's really cool about this is that this actually helped even establish some of the lore for the expanded universe novels. A lot of this stuff was pretty groundbreaking at the time. There wasn't as much in franchised lore or all that kind of stuff. So things that I like about this system, it's old school. It's got that old feel. I picked this up at a thrift shop and it was just like instantly caught my eye. Super cool. So a lot of great art from the original trilogy. The characters that you can play are kind of fun. You at the back here, you've got some, oh, by the way, Han Solo collector's plate, very cool. But the characters that you can play as a Wookiee, a tough native. There's rules for a smuggler, etc., etc. And in this system, you're going to be using a certain number of D6. And so in this case, you have 3D plus 1, 2D plus 1, and you're going to roll that many six-sided dice and then try to beat a target number. So pretty standard on that. I like that when it talks about the Wookiee. It says that if you don't have a good Wookiee impression, you should not play this character, which I think is a benefit to the table. You guys let me know how mine is. I digress. Well, you let me know in the comments how I did. Back to the book. So some things that I really like about this. As I said, old school. It's also got some really great game master advice. So I'm going to go to the game mastering section here. Here's a little spot that I like. Let the rules serve the plot. I've talked about this in another video, but basically this is really emphasizing your sessions should feel like an episode of Star Wars. And so if any of those rules get in the way, then just, make sure that you are not being beholden to the rules, but the rules are helping serve that story. I'm going to go back a little bit here as well. There's a great section at the beginning, which helps you learn how to play. And it's kind of like a choose your own adventure section. And what I really like it talks about here is it's called playing a role. I'm going to read this out for you guys. Remember that the point of this game is to tell a satisfying story, to create your very own movie. The game master provides the plot and the opposition, but a movie still needs snappy dialogue and interesting characters. Providing that is up to you. Role-playing games are sort of like a cross between regular games and a stage play. In a play, every actor has a role, and the actor is expected to stay in his role as long as he's on stage. And I really love this idea. I think that in modern gaming, sometimes because of the amount of options and the popularity of this as entertainment, sometimes a table can kind of feel like, as a player, okay, I'm going to make my character and I'm going to let the rules serve me. I'm going to have a lot of fun tactical combat. But ultimately, you have to remember that role-playing is a collaborative venture, and if you are making the experience, the movie, if you will, more fun for the other players at the table, I think that that's such a huge component of it. So I think that's great advice. Play your character and help develop the story, and if you play with that collaborative mindset, it'll be a richer experience from everybody. So what would I give this book? I think this book in my mind is like an A-. Super great art. I love the original lore. The system is pretty simple. It is a little bit older, and so I'd say my only critique against this is that some of the systems maybe are a little bit clunkier than some modern equivalents, but that's a small nitpick. This is a great game. I'd like to play it on the channel sometime, and let me know if you'd like to see that. Next up, we're going to go to a more modern version. A quick side note, though, there isn't a series of games that I won't be covering. That's because I don't own it. There is a D20 variant of Star Wars, and to my knowledge, it's got some similarities to some of the third edition games, and there's quite a few options, which is great for some people, but sometimes I feel like those games get a little bit bogged down, so I never picked that one up for my table, but let me know if I'm missing something. All right, this next one is by Fantasy Flight Games. This is the Star Wars Edge of the Empire book. There's others in this series that have got, there's one that's more focused on Jedi, and there's one that's more focused on playing as a rebellion character. I don't remember exactly why I picked up the Bounty Hunter one, but it's neither here nor there. So what's cool about these games is that they are a little bit more modern. They've got a lot of great art, and I think the layout is pretty solid as well. what I think that this one stands out is if you're looking for that kind of customization, there are a lot of skill paths that you can do. So these kind of mirror a skill path that you'd find in something like a Mass Effect or another similar game. Lots of just different choices, and so you can really get a lot of granularity in your character customization. I'll note here that this system uses a very interesting set of dice, and I actually wouldn't recommend this as your starting point to an RPG, just because the dice system that it uses it's quite different than what a lot of games use. I played once in the demo version of this game, and while it was fun and there's a lot of variety that you get from the different dice combinations, I wouldn't say that it's instantly intuitive, so I would not recommend this as a first game. So who is this for? If you're looking for a more modern take on Star Wars, there's lots of rules for equipment. There's lots of more in-depth actions. So definitely a lot more crunch. However, I think that can be, depending on your table, that can be a little bit of a turnoff. I'd give this book probably somewhere in the B minus. Maybe personally for me, maybe like closer to the C plus, just because I typically tend more on the side of rules light. However, if I had a game master that knew the system and was invested in it, I think that would probably bump up to me as well. So it depends on how you're going to use it, I think, for the final rating. We've got one more on my list, and this one's probably going to be the most controversial, and that is going to be Scum and Villiany. But you say, but Templar, this doesn't look like official Star Wars. Absolutely. But if you remember what Ben Kenobi says when talking about Tatooine, a hive of scum and villainy, I think you'll realize that this is certainly a nod. So this is a Forged in the Dark game, as made popular by Blades in the Dark. You're playing as a crew of either bounty hunters or smugglers or perhaps even rebels, and you are fighting against kind of a generic version of the Star Wars rule. So this is a little bit more narrative driven, and things that I like about it, it's a little bit more simple on the layout, but it gives you a little bit more flexibility. For some people, not playing directly in Star Wars might be an instant non-starter, but it's close enough that with the system, you could easily just put yourself in any Star Wars published module, and it would be a really quick transition. I also really like the setting that they built. It's close enough to Star Wars to feel nice. Some of the systems that they've got are pretty interesting. However, it's not quite there. The thing that didn't strike me on this one particularly is that some of the character classes, they just didn't quite resonate with me as much as some of the other games. I thought Blades in the Dark did a standout job with this, but these character classes that are included, the playbooks, as you talk about in Forged in the Dark or Powered by the Apocalypse, they just didn't jump as much off the page to me. So not that I wouldn't play it if given a chance, but I haven't read this one as much as some of the other ones for that reason. But what would this game be good for? If you like a little bit more rules light, narrative focus, if you want to put a little bit more of your own spin in the Star Wars world, I highly recommend this. So let's do a quick roundup of these games and the ratings that I gave them if you want a Star Wars game. As we talked about in last place, I would say Scum and Villiany. Actually, for me, I'll give it a B minus. I think it's solid enough. I like rules light, but you would have to modify it a little bit for your settings. Next up was The Edge of the Empire, a little bit more crunch. I give that a C plus or B minus as a player, and I think that it's fun, but the unique dice system can be a little bit challenging. And then lastly, with an A minus, the Star Wars original role-playing game, an absolute classic, great art, a little bit old and a little bit outdated with some of the rules, but overall, just a fantastic thing, and you can't argue with the OG Star Wars art. It's just, it's unstoppable. Those are my thoughts on some of the options for Star Wars role-playing games, but what do you think? Did I miss something? Or is there a game that I should check out in the future on this channel? You have any great Star Wars memories? Let me know in the comments below. So thanks for tuning in. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video and that you got inspired to partake of an adventure in a galaxy far, far away. Until next time, God bless, happy gaming, and please make sure that you watch out for the various battle droids that might be coming after you.